ControlUp offers a rich set of capabilities with true real-time visibility and automated remediation to improve the digital employee experience across any desktop, any application, anywhere. And the way we do that is simple: to collect, connect, and correct. First of all, we collect the data in real time, both through our agents as well as agentless. That provides us with end-to-end visibility across any application, any desktop, from anywhere. Next, we allow you to connect the dots through AI-powered detection and analysis, smart prioritization and experience scoring, providing you with actionable insights. And finally, we allow you to correct the course and correct the issues through automated and proactive issue resolution, optimize performance and improvements to IT spending, and reduce risk and increase compliance. And this last item is where we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk about ControlUp SecurityX. So let's have a look at how we secure the digital workplace. Again, we are doing that through collecting the data, connecting the dots, and correcting the course. Released in early 2024, for managed devices, we bring together device information, the security configuration, how is the device secured, different policies. We check for security control state, so this is what kind of security applications are installed, such as antivirus and anti-malware, and we check if they are installed and running. We bring in operating system patch level information, and very important, local application information, what applications are installed, what versions, etc. And we allow IT teams to get a better insight and connecting the dots around device compliance. Do they meet certain compliance standards that are set by the company? We give you an inventory of your security controls. Are they meeting the specifications set by the security team? Of course, a rich application inventory, as well as comparing it with known vulnerabilities and outdated software to give you a full picture around operating system and application vulnerabilities. And with that information, we can do three main things. We allow you to prevent configuration drift, making sure that your devices are always meeting the compliance specifications set forth by the company. We do patch and vulnerability management, making sure that the latest versions of applications are installed so that you don't have any CVEs to worry about. And we give you in-depth digital insights into the risk of your digital workplace. And now we're expanding on that. So in addition to all the device and application information, with our latest release, we now also track SaaS application and VPN logins. And with that data, we can provide you with a better user risk analysis, as well as SaaS application insights. As far as correcting the course, we improve on the digital workplace risk assessment by bringing in the employee or the end user. So not only just about the device and the applications running on it, we now also track how the user is using and logging into certain applications. And something that is very important to a lot of customers is to get a better understanding of what SaaS applications are being used in your environment, both the IT provided SaaS applications, but also shadow applications. And the way we track those SaaS and VPN logins is twofold. First of all, for managed devices, we have a new browser extension for Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome browsers that is deployed through the SecurityX agent that tracks application, SaaS application and VPN logins. In addition to that, we integrate with third-party APIs for IAM platforms to get application logins that can be on a managed device or even on an unmanaged device. Bringing that data together from both the browser extension as well as the integration with these third-party APIs, which initially includes Okta and Entra ID, we can provide you with a full picture across managed devices and unmanaged devices. And we can give you insights into both IT managed SaaS applications as well through the browser extension for shadow SaaS applications. So let's have a look at how that works. So I logged into the web interface of the ControlUp DEX platform for my account. I'm a full admin on this account. We do have role-based access control, so to set this up you will need certain permissions, but in my case I have what I need. And the first thing I want to highlight is that under settings we now have a new button called integrations. And this allows you to set up the integration with either Okta or Entra ID or both, depending on what authentication platforms you use. And I've already set it up and I defer to the documentation, but basically for Entra ID I set up an app registration with the required permissions. So you will need to set this up to provide access to the audit log and user profiles through the Graph API. And if you use Okta, you will require a API configuration and get the token from your Okta platform to ensure access to the right information if you want to integrate with Okta and receive logins through the Okta platform. As I said, please refer to the documentation for more details about setting this up. So once I've added these integrations for the DEX platform, I can now switch to SecurityX and go to the settings screen and click on User Risk Analytics. I have it already configured, but if you go in here for the first time, you will see that you will have identity provider connections. And what you will see is the ones that we just looked at. So these integrations coming from the DEX platform, SecurityX, the module will consume that by selecting the relevant integrations you want to collect SaaS and VPN logins for. You can set data retention. Up to 4 weeks of information about SaaS application logins are collected. And you can choose to exclude other certain operating systems. So this is just for the logins coming through Entra ID or Okta. You can collect all platforms, both macOS, Linux, as well as Windows. Or if you just have Windows devices and you just want to get the logins that come through the Windows platform, you can select that here. We also allow you to not collect data for unknown devices behind the gateway. So since we collect data for both managed and unmanaged devices, if you just are interested in logins that are coming in through managed devices and you want to ignore the ones from unmanaged devices that are behind a gateway, then you can enable that here. And then finally, this was all related to the third-party API integration, so with Okta and Entra ID, but this last section, these last two, are related to the browser extension deployment. So first of all, where do you want to deploy the extension for, which devices specifically? That can be done by device group or device tags or all your devices that have the SecurityX agent on it. And finally, which approved domains you want to collect logins for. So by default this is blank, So you need to specify the specific domains you want to capture logins for. This is particular to the browser extension. Obviously, the logins that are coming through either Okta or Entra ID are already restricted as far as logins to your domains that you have configured there. These settings are particularly for the browser extension. So by default, it will be blank. So if you want to, for example, just restrict that to your domain, so that if a user logs into a SaaS application that is maybe personal, from their managed device, you can ignore that data. So once we have this configured, users will actually, when they log into SaaS application, that data will now get collected. So let's have a look at that. Navigate to the Users tab to find our redesigned user security overview page. In the top, we will find 4 widgets that talk about devices and authentication. From left to right, we find the devices that are managed by SecurityX versus those that are not. Which devices are being used by users for compliant and non-compliant devices. Login by authentication method. And finally, devices per user. Under that, we find a widget for user risk by score and a timeline for the last 24 hours for user logins categorized by severity over time. Under the widgets and graphs, we will find the overview of user logins. This overview will show you the last 2 logins for each user, with information about the location of the device, what type of authentication was used, either through the integration or the extension, what application was logged into, if the device was managed by SecurityX and HDX, and what time the last login was. If I drill down further into a user, I get to see more details about their devices, all the logins that they've had for SaaS and VPN, as well as device issues that were detected as part of the product. So let's create another login event to see the difference. And to do this, I am opening up a browser. And this is from an unmanaged device, so there is no SecurityX on the device. There's no extension in my browser. This is a BYO device. And in this case, I am going to log into Outlook online. So let me select the correct user. Enter their password. As we can see, I logged into Outlook online as part of my Office subscription. As you can see, this was 21 minutes ago, and if we now do a refresh, we should see this login appearing. This can take a couple of minutes depending on how quick Microsoft adds it to the sign-in log so that we can retrieve it through the API integration. So let's give it a minute. And as you can see, there's now a new login for Office 365 Exchange Online from an unknown device, because this was a unmanaged device, a BYO device, about 8 minutes ago. So as I said, there could be a delay in reporting through the Graph API, but once the data comes in, it will update the user security score. And in this case, the login risk was high or considered high, because it was from a non-managed device. If we go to a managed device, where we do have the SecureDX browser extension installed, and I'm doing the same login to the same app, so let's select Paddy again. So in this case, we have two things going on. The browser extension will detect this login, but will decide to wait until data comes in through the Entra ID integration, because we don't want to register a login through the extension and then have another login event through the API integration and report that as two. This is a single login, so we validate if this login through the extension was also reported through the API and merge those into one. So if you now go back, and again, there could be a little bit of a delay because of the Microsoft API. And we now see the login event, this time from a managed device. So this one has HDX and SecureDX installed. It is still a login event coming from the Entra ID integration. Same application, just a little bit later. And as you can see, the login risk is now determined to be low. And that has to do with the fact that this is from a managed device. So we treat unmanaged versus managed devices differently for the same authentication event because of the differences in how much control you have over a managed device. Next, we're going to create a login event that is not through the integration, so not through Entra ID in this case. So let's go back to our managed device that has the extension, and in this case I'm going to log in with the same user into another app. In this case it's ControlUp's DEX platform. This is a normal credential login, username and password, and in this case it will be picked up by the browser extension because this is one of the approved domains that we're tracking. So if we now go back here and give it a minute, there we see that again this was from the managed device. In this case it was a credential login, so also called a shadow login, to app.controlup.com, and in this case it is determined to be a medium login risk. And the reason for the difference here is that it was a managed device, but it's using corporate credentials to log into a app that is not managed by the organization. So in this case it's not integrated with Entra ID, and the same would be the case for Okta. So this is not a application that was the authentication that was managed through one of our integrations. So although it is on a managed device, it does rank it slightly lower, medium login risk, than a full login from a managed device through one of the integrations. So how can we use this data to do a better assessment of digital workplace risk, as well as what we talked about in the introduction for shadow SAS reduction? Well, let's go back to the user screen, and obviously we can look at all the individual and sort and filter through here through the bottom, but we can also use the widgets to quickly filter down information that is relevant for us to focus on improving digital workplace risk and reduction of shadow SaaS applications. I can do this in various ways. I can, for example, select devices that are not covered by SecurityX and see which users are using devices that are unmanaged and take action on that. Or I can, for example, filter by clicking here on credentials, which are shadow logins, and see which users are using corporate credentials to log into SaaS applications that are possibly not managed by IT. Or another option is to select user risk by score, and here I get to see all the users that have, in this case, a critical score. I can change the selection, and this really allows me to kind of like focus on those employees that are higher than average risk to the organization when it comes to application and device security, and take action based on that. Additionally, if I go to the Apps tab and then select SaaS, we will see all the applications, all SaaS application and VPN logins that were registered by either the extension or through the API integration. Again, we can quickly filter by authentication method. So for example, if I click on credentials, which are all the shadow IT logins, now I get to see which applications are being used by employees for which they use one of the approved domains, for example, your corporate email address. And I can now take this information to make further decisions, for example, provide them to IT security team, or I can decide if I want to onboard these applications into my identity provider, or if I want to maybe set restrictions about what IP addresses. For example, I can do an allow list or block list better for these applications, so that I further improve the employee security when it comes to SaaS applications. Other information in here is what different categories of applications. So we actually determine based on the application that's being logged in what type of applications they are. I can see that here in the top. And we also bring in certification strength. So this is particular to these applications. For example, you see here the first one, Microsoft Teams Web Client, has various certifications including FIPS and FedRAMP, and various SOC levels, SOC 1, SOC 2 and SOC 3. We do that for other applications that the user logs in, and this is being made part of the employee risk when they're logging into this application. I can drill down further by clicking on the user count, and then I get to see the full list of users that are using this application. The final update for SecurityX is our brand new overview page that brings together all aspects of the employee and device security in a single dashboard. You will see the overall security score across the organization in the top left, followed by the security score over time, device configuration issues and security configuration issues over time in the widget in the top bar, as well as a grouping of issues by severity. The top 10 issues as far as security configuration in the environment is shown on the second row. And new, due to the features we just described, is the top 10 risky users. So this will give you a quick overview of which users are causing or are the reason for increased security risk due to the login behavior of SaaS applications. In the bottom, we'll find a new view that shows you vulnerable devices by location, followed by 2 new widgets, one that maps the top 10 issues in your environment, which obviously when you hover over will provide you with information about that, as well as issues by device group or by device tag. With these new features, ControlUp SecureDX is a tool in your toolbox to deliver a complete, secure digital workplace. Existing features such as our configuration drift prevention and patch and vulnerability management allows you to decrease risk due to device security misconfigurations and matching your corporate compliance standards. Patch and vulnerability management drives consistency in app versions, which reduces the attack surface. Through autonomous patch remediation, you can save time and make sure that you're always as secure as your environment can be. With these new features, you can improve on your device security assessment and reporting. So if you need to report to your security organization or to IT security, you now have a more complete picture that spans devices, applications, as well as the employee itself. And finally, the new feature will also expand your visibility into the security into SaaS applications, and it helps you prioritize onboarding of shadow SaaS applications, leading to a superior and secure experience for both IT as well as employees.